Francesca, I can see you in the corner. Can you just see my screen? Just making sure that
Yes,
everything's okay.
Yes,
okay,
I can.
Brilliant. So, I suppose the first thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you for joining us today. We're so pleased to be able to host a webinar along with Elite Cruises. I suppose a little bit of background of why we're here today before I hand over to Francesca. Francesca and I have known each other for a long time, probably 20 years actually, off and on with regard to different companies that we've worked at. But in March, we were lucky enough, along with Stacey, to be able to get on board one of our ships, which was Joie de Vivre in Paris. We were very lucky to be in Paris in March, and it was an opportunity for Francesca and also Stacey to see the ships and to be able to talk about river cruise in more detail. And I know that Francesca books Seabourn, Silversea, Regent, and these are the companies that we work with very, very closely. Today we're going to have a small presentation along myself. I'm Dawn Quinn, who works for Uniworld. We've got Emily, who is in Guernsey, as we've just said, and Emily's in our reservation in our trade sales team. And the main gentleman here today who's going to talk about India is Arjun. So just wanted to say thank you. And we're going to go through a presentation of why Uniworld are the most awarded river cruise line in the world. We are ultra luxury, and with Uniworld, everything's an included. So I'm just going to hand over, that's just a little opening. I'm just going to hand over to Francesca, who's going to say a few words.
Well, I'm just firstly going to echo what Dawn just said and say thanks so much for taking time out to join the call today. I wanted to touch on a few things. Obviously, again, Dawn mentioned this briefly. Stacey and I both came back feeling really inspired after we had a couple of nights on Joie de Vivre on the Seine in Paris for the ultra luxury showcase. We were looked after so well, and we were really, really lucky, as you may or may not have seen in my subsequent updates, that we were allocated one of the top 2 suites on board the ship, and the MD had the other one. So that was a bonus for definite. And Uniworld's fleet is truly unique and definitely a natural transition from the sort of ultra luxury ocean cruises that you're used to experiencing. Each of their beautifully destination-inspired ships, enhancing the expertly curated experiences that Uniworld deliver. As a company, obviously right now I'm talking to people who know us, but other people may not who ultimately see this little webinar. We at Elite Cruises aspire to and hopefully deliver a friendly, professional and knowledgeable service to all our clients and potential clients. We have an enviable black book of all the contacts that we'll ever need to fulfill your requirements in all the right places. Our response rate and accessibility are pretty much unmatched in the industry. You won't experience any hold queues, there'll be no multiple menu choices when you call through, there'll be no issues contacting the person you spoke to before, and there will never be a lack of communication. We always respond promptly, and we'll even respond to you to say that we don't have a response for you yet. Between Stacey and myself, we have combined longevity in the industry of in excess of 45 years for you to tap into and benefit from. I've been on more ships than I have time to list here and can offer you first-hand insight to these, many of which can be found out and about on our website and social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We don't directionally sell and ultimately just want to find the holiday that best fits your requirements. It's all about meeting and hoping to exceed your expectations. We don't advertise and have a very organic business reliant upon and grateful for our regulars, many of whom have booked with us for decades, and also word of mouth. We further underpinned the business, adding Trustpilot to the mix in the latter part of last year, encouraging independent reviews to back up the customer service experience we deliver. We're delighted to share that we are rated as excellent. There have also been a couple of new additions to the Elite Cruises website. There is now a bespoke cruise search there for you and a virtual brochure rack to select and view online in the comfort of your own home. All of this aligns beautifully with the ethos of this favoured supported supplier, Uniworld Boutique Cruises, who are offering us an all-inclusive product and who are also all about impeccable customer service, culinary excellence, and doing everything possible to meet and exceed your expectations in all areas. There's a fantastic portfolio of river destinations, which is supported by some truly incredible land adventures to further enhance and immerse you into your journey to your chosen destination. Today, Dawn is going to give you an overview of what Uniworld offers us, and we are very lucky to have Arjun on the video call too, who is going to virtually take us to India. Our plan is that we will do other similar webinars, working our way through the full spectrum of Uniworld's destination portfolio. So let me hand you over to Dawn now, and do feel free to raise any questions for the Q&A at the end of the call. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Francesca. What a fantastic introduction. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you. Well, you did say some of it, so we said it twice.
Well, we're on the same page, which is fantastic. So I was just going to give you an overview of who are Uniworld, who are we, you know, who are we part of? So Uniworld is part of the Travel Corporation. So it's a family-run business started by Mr. and Mrs. Tolman with one hotel in South Africa, and we have hotels all throughout the world. We're the only river cruise line with our heritage and hospitality. And service is in our DNA. And I know Francesca mentioned service, and it's core to everything that we do. It's important to Francesca, Stacey, Elite Cruises, and it's paramount to us. Staff on board our ships and throughout the TTC group are one of our most important assets, and the company is debt-free. There is a number of different brands within TTC, so Insight Vacations, Luxury Gold, and Red Carnation Hotels. So you may know some of the hotels, may not know that they're part of the same group that Uniworld are, part of TTC. So we have Ashford Castle, for example, that's in Ireland, where President Biden stayed recently. We've got 5 hotels in London. We've just opened a safari in Kajira. So really, why I've connected the link to Red Carnation Hotels, and we said about we're the only river cruise line with its heritage and hospitality. What happens in our hotels happens on our ships. Hence, we call ourselves floating boutique hotels. I'm very lucky, and I feel very lucky that I've been able to sail on a number of ships. If you've not river cruised before, I feel like the best thing about a river cruise is you unpack once and you go to each destination. Every day is a new destination. You're close to land. We may sail in the daytime and you can have a gorgeous coffee while you're reading your book. And then we more in the evening, you can have a gorgeous dinner and then get off and then explore. There's no tenders like you would find on an ocean ship. So, and that's one of the reasons that river cruise is so popular. And not everyone wants a huge ship. So on average, in the river cruise industry, all river cruise ships are more or less the same size because of the locks and the bridges. So in the industry, there's 190 guests on average on a river cruise ship, but with Uniworld, there's 120. And what have we done with that space? Well, we've revolutionised river cruising. We're not the same as everyone else. We have multiple dining venues. We have more communal areas. We have more suites on board. In a river cruise with only on average 120 guests in Europe, and Arjun will tell you it's even less on the Ganges, you can then sit and chat and talk to people. And you make friends and friends for life. It's a fantastic holiday for single travellers as well. I know that's what we were talking about earlier, but with an average of 120 guests, we want people to leave as friends, and there's nothing better when Francesca says, actually, I've got another booking with guests that have met some friends when they're on board and they all want to go together the following year. With Uniworld, and we said about revolutionising river cruise, we're not cookie cutters, we're not all the same. All of our ships are different. They're built for the region that they're in. So when we were in Paris on board Joie de Vivre, it felt like a floating boutique hotel, a Parisian hotel when we were on board. Even our furniture are one-off statement pieces. We have Picassos on board. I think Francesca had a Picasso on board in her suite. But all of our ships are different. So people enjoy a Uniworld cruise because of the fantastic itineraries, but also want to experience the different ships as well. Dining is very important to us. So Mr. and Mrs. Tolman, who started TTC and Red Carnation Hotels, Mrs. Tolman's passion is everything culinary. With Uniworld, we're again not the same as everyone else. We don't have the same menu that lasts throughout a whole season. If it's not in season, then it's not on our ships. What is great is when you're on board, you'll see how small the kitchens are on a Uniworld ship, because every day we're getting fresh produce that is then bought on board to the ships, and we can cater for those dietary requirements. If there was dietary requirements that you had, you could let Francesca know. But fresh produce is coming on every single day. As we said, if it's not in season, then it's not on our ships. Dining on board is inspired for the region that we sail in, but also we have steaks and salads. So we have an a la carte menu in the evening where you can pick and choose and dine. It's just an example of some of the visuals. I know it's a little bit early to be talking about food already, but it is a culinary delight. So with Uniworld, we are ultra luxury, all inclusive. So we do include more excursions than anyone else. So if, for example, if Stacey and I were going on a river cruise together, we could choose different excursions to do each day because there are multiple. Everything is in small groups. It isn't someone with a flag that's walking, when there's 70 people all together. It's small and it's immersive. So, for example, if we were in Bordeaux, I'm going to talk about wine. I know it is still early. But if we were in Bordeaux together, then we would be having private wine tasting in chateaus that were just for us. If we were on the Danube, for example, then we would be going to a classical concert, a Mozart concert that was just for us. These are those wow moments that give you goose pimples and you've created a memory for life. These are included with Uniworld, but there are multiple each day. So you can pick and choose which excursions that you want to do. If you wanted to stay on the ship or you just wanted to walk into town, then that's okay. But you've also got this amazing all-inclusive excursion program that's tailored just for Uniworld. We also have a number of excursions that are in the evening as well, because some people might want to explore in the daytime. So we have carefully thought about the excursions that we offer. There are no inside cabins on a river cruise ship with Uniworld. Every room has a view. What we have on our super ships, we have even more suites on board. And Francesca mentioned that she stayed in one of the best suites on board Joie de Vivre. But we can share. If you were looking at a river cruise, when we talk, Arshan's going to go in more detail on the Ganges Voyager too, but we have usually there's around about 4 categories. It's not overcomplicated on the categories that we have, but all cabins and all staterooms have a view. This is just an example of, just click through on the next one. This is a suite on board the Mekong Jewel. We have a ship on the Mekong, so this is one of our suites, and it has a jacuzzi at the front as well. So we just wanted to give you an idea that every single room is different, every suite is different. So when Francesca was stayed in the suite on Joie de Vivre, and we have two of the top suites, they were completely different. They've been personalised. As we said, everything with Uniworld is personal. I'm now going to play you a video, just gives an overview of what we're talking about with Uniworld. That's just a short video just to try and bring it to life with regard to, especially in Europe. I know Arjun's going to bring it to life for the Ganges. So what do we include with Uniworld? We include your flights, those amazing excursions. There's nothing else to think about. The drinks when you're on board. We have in our suites, we have a butler service, and those butlers are Buckingham Palace trained. Excursions, we said excursions that are included, Wi-Fi, gratuities. There isn't anything else to think about. So just to touch on before we then hand over to Arjun, I'm just going to touch on Europe. So this isn't a geography lesson. This is just all the rivers of Europe that we cover, and we're on all of the major rivers. So whether you were going to do a 2-week river cruise from Amsterdam down to the Black Sea, or you were in Portugal on the Douro, you were sampling port, for example, or we were in Bordeaux or Lyon to Avignon, we have all of the major rivers are covered by Uniworld, but we do have a jewel in our crown, and that is Venice. No one else is on the river in Venice. So I'm just going to touch just a couple of minutes to give you an idea of our Venice cruise. And you shouldn't pick favourite children, but in Europe, this is my favourite itinerary. It's everything I expected and more. So our river cruises in Europe are 8 days. Okay. This is a bucket list. So as you know, the big ocean ships can't now go into Venice, even though they say they are. They aren't, because they have to be 2 hours away. But we moor in the heart of Venice, and we discover the Veneto region and the small islands of Venice. So this is our ship, La Venezia. She's 120 guests on board, and she sails all through the Veneto region. Fantastic suites when you're on board, one of a kind suites. We have 4 on board La Venezia. $1 million view when you're on board with regard on the sun deck, to be able to sit there and maybe drink a glass of Prosecco and watch the world go by and see St. Mark's Square, for example, or Doge's Palace when you're on board. The feel of the ship is a chic Orient Express. That's the way I feel when I'm on board her. There's lots of room. So this is the main dining room. There's lots of space, and to be able to sit there, and as we sail throughout Venice is fantastic, and we'll have our a la carte meal there together, but it is just stunning. We even have our own pizzeria when we're on board. So we said about revolutionizing river cruise, so we have multiple dining venues. We have a panini bar, for example. This is Cello's, where guests are, again, it's complimentary when you're on board. You can have pizzas that are cooked just the way that you want them, and then they're served on board in cellos as well. That's a really nice experience. One of the highlights, and there are many on this river cruise, is if you've been to Venice, you will see that there's a huge queue for St. Mark's Basilica. Okay, so what we do is we go in the evening. We'll have a nice glass of Prosecco, an Aperol Spritz, for example. We go by private water taxi and we go to St. Mark's Basilica. We go through a separate door that's reserved for dignitaries, and we have a private lighting ceremony just for the Uniworld guests and no one else in St. Mark's Basilica. And we have a private tour of the Basilica, takes us to the crypt as well, for example. Then we go to Burano. So we have built our own dock in Burano. So in the daytime, it can be a little bit busy. So we gently moor in the afternoon when all the crowds are then leaving. We have a fantastic dinner on board, and then you can get off and explore this fantastic island that takes round about 20 minutes. And then you can come back onto the ship for cocktails, for example. And then we on this itinerary, we go to Doge's Palace, for example. Again, we go early in the morning before any of the other crowds are allowed in, anyone else, and it's private just for us. And if you love history like myself, being in small groups allows you to ask a lot of questions. And I'm sure you're getting the feeling at the minute I like to ask questions. So I wanted to know how those frescoes were on the ceiling. And you can ask our own guides. So we want you to be immersed in the destination, and especially on the excursions. So I'm now going to be handing over to Arjun, who's going to be talking about India. But we do have a long haul programme, which we've now called Spectacular Journeys of the World. So, for example, we have 2 ships in Egypt with our own Egyptologists, where you go to 15 World UNESCO sites. We have a fantastic new ship on the Mekong Jewel, where we have the extensions of Halong Bay, and then we have Peru. This is more of an expedition. There's only 32 guests on board with skiffs and kayaks, and you're exploring the Amazon. And then we actually take you to Machu Picchu as well. But I'm going to hand over to Arjun now, who's going to talk to you about India and the Golden Triangle and the Ganges. Over to you, Arjun.
Well, thank you so much, Dawn, for that wonderful introduction. Namaste, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, if you're seeing this on the recording. Wonderful to be with you here today. So my name's Arjun. I'm from the Ganges Voyager 2 in India. And I've really come to tell you a story. Why River Cruise India? And so India, as you know, it's a vast country with a rich tapestry of heritage and culture over thousands of years. And essentially, all these are more developed along and because of the rivers, the waterways, which were the highways for trading commodities like tea and spices and textiles, as well as intellectual exchange for religion, philosophy, art and architecture. And so for centuries, people have journeyed along Indian riverbanks, and they've come home, they've talked about the wonderful monuments, temples, palaces they found there, but also the challenges of long distances by road. How do you access culture, and where do you stay? And so that's why we've curated this ultimate Indian experience, which is a combination of land and river cruise, where you traverse these kind of untouched landscapes, which are untouched by mass tourism and modernity, staying in the best accommodations to really make wonderful, unforgettable memories of a lifetime. And so our passion is to really change your idea of India, to say, wow, India is this incredible place, and I want to go again and again. And so this is a phenomenal journey. It's a 2 weeks trip across the famed Golden Triangle of New Delhi, Agra, and Jaipur. And these are the most famous monuments of the previous capital, the Taj Mahal, and of course the Pink City, combined with a 7 nights cruise on the Ganges River on the all-sweet Ganges Voyager 2, where we visit wonderful hidden places along the river there. And so landing up in Delhi, you're transferred from the airport to your wonderful hotel, which is the Oberoi in New Delhi. It's an incredible hotel right in a wonderful central location within easy reach of the different monuments we'll explore along the way. And this is a phenomenal hotel which For generations, people have met there for afternoon tea, and it's a wonderful historic place from which to base wonderful explorations of the old capital of India. And so we have wonderful explorations into, for example, the old part of the city, Old Delhi. We take cycle rituals through the old marketplace. There's the wonderful Red Fort and different monuments there. The memorial to Mahatma Gandhi as well, which we visit along the way. So this is a wonderful introduction to India as we land there for 2 nights. Having experienced Delhi, the Mughal and imperial capital, now we come to Agra, the Taj Mahal. We stay in the Oberoi Amavilas, where every room has a view of the Taj Mahal, and you have Taj Mahal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And what's more, we don't just visit it at sunrise, but also we visit it at sunset. So you get to see the wonderful monument in 2 different lights from different angles, up close, as well as, for example, from your room and from the terrace to have afternoon tea in the hotel, the Oberoi, which is a phenomenal once-in-a-lifetime experience. So to see it twice is very special and very unique. So now from Agra, we proceed to Jaipur, the World Heritage Pink City, an incredible place. We stay in the Oberoi Hotel, the Rajvilas. It's a wonderful heritage garden with peacocks, with different garden areas, and the wonderful rooms dotted throughout the different areas of the gardens, and within wonderful reach of the old city of Jaipur. And in Jaipur, there's incredible palaces. We visit, for example, this is the famous Palace of the Winds, the Hawa Mahal, where the ladies of the court used to spend their days. There's also the wonderful City Palace and Museum with the 2 largest single pieces of silver in the world, which were urns for carrying Ganges water to London at the turn of in the 1900s. And so we explore the wonderful palaces, the astronomical observatories. And so having experienced Delhi, Agra, and Jaipur, now we fly from Jaipur to Calcutta, Kolkata, and we board the incredible Ganges Voyager 2. The Ganges Voyager 2 is a locally handcrafted all-suite ship, just with 28 suites, so 56 passengers on board, around 40 crew on board. And so every room has a wonderful view over the river. Each room has different local artwork, different textiles. Of course, it has video on demand and the bathroom ensuite with Ayurvedic amenities which are there. And so it's totally an indigenously crafted ship, which is a wonderful way to wake up every morning with a different view of the holy river, the Ganges, as we're sailing along. This is one of the super suites we have, which is the Viceroy. We have the Maharaja suite, which is again, it's a large suite. The suites are from 24 to 38 square meters on board, and we have different rooms with different colors and different themes, but it's an all-suite ship. And so the best part of the Maharaja suite is the bathtub. You have a shower as well as a bathtub there as well, and that makes this a top suite, which we have on board. On our wonderful sun deck, we have a different tea and coffees, different drinks which are served. You can see the landscape sailing as we're going along. And of course, this is the outdoor area. We have an indoor lounge, which is there, an indoor bar lounge where we have talk, selection, discussions. But it's really on the sun deck. We have the spa rooms, we have these public areas, and it's here where we have the activities on board. So every day we have yoga in the morning as we're sailing along with the sunrise over the Holy River. There are tea and coffee tastings. We have the finest Indian organic tea and coffee served on board. We have different dance performances by local troupes who maintain and develop the traditional arts. Or, for example, we have the traditional clothes wearing, how the sari is worn, how the turban is worn, or, for example, the henna mendi, what the designs and patterns mean. So every day as we're sailing, we have wonderful culture enrichment on the sun deck as we're sailing along. And it's a wonderful convivial atmosphere where you can explore and learn the real nitty-gritty of the local culture and the places we're sailing along the way, as well as sip wonderful cocktails and different tea and different cookies and things which are there. On board the ship, of course, every day we have wonderful gourmet gastronomy, and you taste history and geography of the places we sail through the taste buds. So in many different places where we stop, we just use local transport. We use cycle rickshaws, electric rickshaws, or just simply walk to these different places. This is the wonderful Kanna local market. These areas are not touristic, so you can walk very easily, naturally. And these are some of the spices which are used on board. And of course, we have cooking classes on board to learn how the spices are used in the traditional cuisine. And so some of the highlights of the places we see along the way. This is one of the highlight monuments in Murshidabad. This is the 1,000-door palace, yellow Doric column palace, right on the banks of the river, designed by a Scotsman who couldn't imagine rooms without fireplaces. So he put fake fireplaces in many of the rooms to give it the sense of grandeur and proportion, and of course these fake painted on doors to give it again that feeling of a large illustrious palace. It's a wonderful museum to visit inside with different weapons, armaments, and a lot of different stories and things we can visit there. And we also visit many places of this area, which is one of the old princely capitals before the colonial period. So this is a wonderful highlight place to visit. There are also wonderful areas, other areas to visit, for example, Chandanagar. This was a French colonial enclave. There's a governor's mansion, a wonderful boulevard on the waterfront. They had a guillotine there till the 19th century. This is the Sacré-Cœur Church. And so again, we walk and we explore the different small streets of this village now. There are incredible temples in Mayapur. So Mayapur is the world headquarters for the Hare Krishnas. It's the birthplace of their founder. And they're building the largest temple in the world there, the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, which will be compared to the great religious sites of the world, like St. Paul's Cathedral or St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. And so again, we walk through the local pilgrims bazaar. They're just local pilgrims who are visiting there, and we get to enter the complex area to learn about the Hare Krishna, but also about the temple under construction. So this you can see is a rendering of how it will look when it's finished. Presently, they finished the central dome, but the other two wings are under development still.
For me, India and what Uniworld does, I was completely blown away because I really believe it's one of the most beautiful and mesmerizing destinations in the world. We are going to take our clients to New Delhi, Agra, and Jaipur. And on top of it, we stay at the Oberois, the best hotels in the world. The Taj Mahal is the most beautiful building in the world. For me, it's like a purest gift of love. At the Oberoi, you open the door, and what you see, the stunning view of Taj Mahal. We have only one holy river in the world, and we are right here on the Ganges Voyager 2. The adventure is going to start. What I love about this itinerary is that every day you see completely something different. Every day you wake up and you are so excited, oh my God, what am I going to see today? Because we are going to be really visiting towns that they are completely remote. You cannot get them by land, only by the water. And, you know, when we go to those villages and you see those smiling faces, right? Everybody comes out and welcomes you with open hearts. They would like, you know, to know us. Obviously, they are so amazed. This kind of beautiful ship is sailing on the river because they have never seen it before. After hustle and bustle, what we see on the shores when you come through the ship, it is like an oasis of peacefulness, elegance, and quiet. So you are just sitting in your room, you open your French balcony, and you immerse what you see outside. You also create friendships. You dine together, you know, share those beautiful experiences, right? Every time you come from the excursion, I see how, you know, they are completely mesmerized. And when you go home, for sure, I'm going to be smiling. I love the traditions that don't exist anywhere else. I think the peacefulness of this river is very moving, and all those components are going to make this journey unforgettable. I would like to invite you to come and join us on Ganges Voyager 2 and experience this beautiful itinerary with us.
So that's our incredible ultimate Indian experience, which has been so popular. We've actually incorporated different other extensions to really make it even better than it is now. And one of the things which has been very popular has been a pre-extension to the famed city of Udaipur, called the Venice of the East. Those who are familiar with James Bond, one of the Roger Moore films, Octopussy was, that's one of the backdrops, was the Lake Piccolo there in Udaipur. It's a phenomenal princely kingdom. We stay in the wonderful hotel, which is on the inside the lake itself, and we see different museums and local palaces of this wonderful Rajasthan kingdom, which is really phenomenal to see. And so that can be done before the wonderful journey across land and cruise. And of course, we also have the wonderful option after the cruise to visit Varanasi, Benares, said to be the oldest living city in the world. It's the center of Hinduism. And it's a phenomenal place to stay and visit the wonderful ghats, the different areas next to the river where there are religious activities going on, as well, of course, different textiles, which are very famous textile and saris, dresses are woven in Varanasi. And then again, different areas of this incredible city to visit, and go on a boat ride on the upper Ganges along the different ghats which are there. And so these, before in Udaipur and in Varanasi, make this a really an even more exceptional journey to see these wonderful parts of India, and even more comprehensive. And one further thing which has really, which we've launched recently, has been the wonderful opportunity to not only see India by river cruise, but also by luxury train. And this is the combination of cruise combining the Ganges Voyager 2 with the Maharajas Express, one of the most luxurious trains in the world. And this is the voyage going from Kolkata to Mumbai via luxury river cruise with a train and a flight in between. And the beauty of the train is we're visiting places like Delhi, which we've seen the monuments, Agra, the Taj Mahal, also Ranthambore, which is a national park for tigers, Jaipur, the Pink City, and then visiting these wonderful princely kingdoms of Bikaner with incredible fortress in the desert, Jodhpur, the blue city, and of course Udaipur, the city of lakes. And so this is something totally unique, for the first time possible to visit India by luxury train and by river cruise in one succinct journey, essentially covering coast to coast of India, 2 different sides of India in one journey, staying in the best accommodations. And so, of course, in the train, every day you're traveling, there are different excursions into the different places, and the train travels throughout the trip, traveling hundreds of kilometers every day. Wonderful 2 dining cars on board, wonderful gourmet gastronomy, again, multi-course meals with different drinks and different experiences, which are there. The bar cars, which are there as well. And again, just phenomenal train with different cabins and different suites, which are there on board. And so this is, again, a wonderfully new, innovative way to see India. But above all, the idea is that you're traveling across vast distances of India, staying in the best accommodations, eating the best gastronomy from wonderful kitchens and chefs across the land, and to have the wonderful opportunity to be in the best position to access these monuments and mythologies directly without going through too much travel or packing or unpacking and difficulty to visit these places. So we want to have a wonderful seamless journey from arrival to departure, and to have an India which is unimaginable before. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll hand back to Dawn.
Oh, thank you, Arjun. Every time I hear you, Arjun, it makes me want to just go back. And it is one of the most spectacular journeys that we do have. And with those new extensions, makes it, you know, the very best way to see India. We had Maharaja Express for 2023, and it sold out within 24 hours. So we've got a bigger allocation for 2024. So thank you, Arjun. You always bring it to life. And I know we're going to have some questions in a second, but we're coming towards the end of the presentation now. We promised it would be around about 45 minutes. We have a special relationship with Elite Cruises, with Francesca and Stacey. So just for the clients of Elite Voyages, we're going to give away private complimentary door-to-door transfers for any bookings that are made from today for the next 2 weeks. And I know Francesca's going to be following up anyway with any opportunities that you want on more details, but we've also at Elite Cruises have their own over-branded brochure, both for the European product and also for the journeys of the world as well. So really just wanted to say thank you on the behalf of the Uniworld team. Thank you to Francesca and Stacey for allowing us to do this. And this is going to be a series. We're going to travel the world together. We're going to go to lots of distant destinations every few weeks. And so I would welcome your feedback. and then we're going to open the floor to any questions that that you might have as well. So does anyone, I've got a couple of questions here that someone sent through, but Emily, is there any questions that people have got, or any questions that people want to share? I'm going to stop sharing the presentation so we can see each other. There we go.
Well, firstly, I'd just like to thank you, Dawn and Arjun, very much for doing both of your presentations. That's been fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It is appreciated. Emily, are there any questions? I've got a couple that have come through.
I haven't got any in the chat.
Oh, I've got a couple that have been messaged. So one of the questions is, when's the best time to travel, Arjun, to India?
Well, we only offer our trips in the best time to go. So whenever you go in those dates, that's the best time to visit. Typically it's September to April for India, but so we operate only in the best time to go. So the of course the weather is it is cooler during the winter time, but it's not cold like here, but it is cooler. So for example, depending on the time, it may be cool on some days, maybe a light jumper or a light jacket weather or a t-shirt in the daytime. But it's neither too hot nor too cold in those times.
Okay, another one of the questions is, how many people are on board the Ganges Voyager 2?
So we have there's 28 suites on board for a total capacity of 56 passengers, and there's around 40 crew which we have on board. So they could be up to 56 people sailing there, but typically there's around 40 to 50 people generally who sail on board in the different sailings. And
it's 36 members of staff, so the guests
around 40, yeah. So there's a very high crew passenger ratio.
And then one of the other questions is, can we upgrade to business class flights? And yes, that is one of the things that we can look to add on, and Francesca can look to upgrade to business class flights. I've just seen a question come through on solo offers. What we can do is, what the dates that you're looking at, we can look at the solo offering that we then have on, if it's on the Ganges Voyager 2, on our Spectacular Journeys product. But then in Europe, I'm going to be sending over to Francesca straight after this all where our solo offers are. We've got some great ones for 2023, just to let you know.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, of course.
Do you usually have any children on board?
The honest answer is no. Right. So, and the reason for that is there isn't enough for them to do. We have Wi-Fi, and so I took my, who is now 16-year-old, lots on board. We have lectures, we have it's not for children, so we do say there's no children really under the age of 12. Now and again on some of our sailings we might have a couple, but it's not the norm, if I'm honest.
Okay, and what is the age group? Does it vary?
So on our ships, 50 plus on board the ships, and nationalities on board, so Americans, British, we have some Australians on board as well, but it's a really nice mix. It's very, when you're on board, it's very, the atmosphere is just lovely, and everyone is on there to have a great time. So, in the evening when we have dancing, so if we're on the Danube, for example, then we'll have a demonstration of the Blue Waltz, for example, and we get to learn how to do the Blue Danube, and we get to learn how to waltz. And as Arjun said, in India, traditional dancing as well. Yeah, so it's a very encompassing way to travel.
It'll be my first solo trip.
Right,
so
okay.
I am a bit nervous about traveling alone. At the airport, is there someone there to sort of guide you to where you're supposed to go, or is it?
Yeah, so you will get your flight to I know Maggie, you were saying about Europe. So you were getting your flight and you were going to go to Bordeaux, for example.
Yeah.
So you get your flight, and then when you arrive in Bordeaux, then you're met by a Uniworld representative who then takes you to the ship.
Okay, that's fine. So there is a
And that's the same on if it's European or worldwide, it's seamless all the way through.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
From India, where you land up, there's someone to meet you at the airport and drive you in a sedan car to your hotel. You're looked after the entire time, and you're dropped back at the airport at the end of the trip. So there's you're looked after from arrival till departure in India.
Right, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Perfect.
Did you see
any more
flights?
Sorry, I've not seen it. Could you read it out to me? Is that okay, please?
Quite simply asking whether for the European flights, is your preferred carrier usually BA? I suspect it probably is, but will depend on the destination.
Well, it is. Depends where we're going. It might be Lufthansa, it might be KLM, with the best flight times from a European perspective. We want to get you on the ship as early as possible. It's the first day of your holiday, so we don't use low-cost carriers where possible. So when an inquiry comes in, then it will go to Francesca, and our reservations team will talk about the various flight options for you. Yeah, so like the KLMs.
One thing that I noticed when Stacey and I were on board for a couple of days, which surprised me, which was a really nice touch, is that as we were sitting in the lounge, because we all left at different times, didn't we? And I was one of the later ones to disembark. Guests were already coming on board right from really quite early in the morning. And whilst they may not have had access to their accommodation, they were allowed on the ship to just relax and do whatever they wanted to do, which on most cruise ships these days, you're lucky if you get on before about 2 in the afternoon.
No, we do want you on early. We want you, it's your first day of your holiday, and usually you don't get on till 3, 4 o'clock. And I've worked for other river cruise lines, and it's not all the same. But we want you on as early as possible to sit down and refresh and to maybe have a nice coffee. And then that's the same in departing as well. If I'm honest, you might have to be out of your stateroom by a certain time, but if your flight's not until the afternoon and we're not sailing, then you can stay on board the ship. Same in India.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice touch. It just makes it far less hurried, and it's nice.
We don't want you to leave. That's the reason. We want you to stay. Super. I know, Francesca, you've got the brochure, the over-branded brochure that you can then send afterwards as well. So any other questions that people have got, and any thoughts afterwards, if you send them to Francesca and Stacey, and then we can come back with any questions. Just before we round up, has anyone got any other questions?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm sort of taking over here.
No, I like it.
Are all the vessels of the same standard, or do you have a flagship?
So all of our super ships are our new ships, super ships. So SS La Venezia, SS Bon Voyage, they're the ships that have the more suites on board, multiple dining venues as well. But we do have some ships that, like the River Queen, who is a traditional, it's a wooden ship. So we do have other ships as well, but if you wanted one of our newer ships, then it's a super ship.
Okay, right.
You can, once you have a look around on the website, Maggie, when you look at the list of the ships, you can see if they've got prefix SS.
Yes, I've noticed
that. They're the super ships.
That's perfect. Those are the ones I've been looking at. Thank you.
Not Silver Sea, super ships.
Yeah.
Yes. Silver Sea are our friends.
Yes, of course they are. Well, you're not competitors, are you? At the end of the day, you're both attracting 2 different markets. It's just we've got the affinity between the clients that are suited to both products.
And when we do a lot of events together with Seabourn, Oceania, Silver Sea, because we are at the same standard. The difficult thing is that word luxury, isn't it? That's overused by everyone, and not everyone is the same. Not everyone is. So yeah, we are ultra luxury, all inclusive river cruising.
Perfect.
Super. Francesca, any words that you want to say before we
I have no further words of wisdom to impart. I think it's been very interesting. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for everybody's time who's been involved on the call, and we will get this out and about everywhere and share the love.
Perfect. And any questions, then let us know.
People that your faces might be visible in public spaces. I should probably mention that.
Yeah, that's good for us. No problem at all. But you know, anytime, any questions, and like we say, we'll be following up with we're around, and Francesca and Stacey, you know, are your points of contact. And I think from my point of view, just to say again, thank you for everyone attending. I know everyone is busy, and really, you know, heartfelt thanks to Francesca, who said she would do this when she was in Paris, has met with Chris, our MD, and has done it as well. You're our first one to do it.
Thank you.
From Luxury Showcase.
I like
so heartfelt thanks. Thank you. It is appreciated.
The next one, we'll have to start picking that. If you've got any preferences on your next destination, it might be a good point to shout, but I think it's probably going to be Europe, I would imagine.
No problem at all. We'll accommodate, and we'll get another guest speaker on board.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Then. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Have a lovely day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.